Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Hope you guys are doing well today. So, in the last couple of hours, Blizzard have released their upcoming class tuning for next weekly reset. Now, it's been 40 days since Dragonflight came out, and this is kind of the third or fourth iteration of class changes and things like that they've done. They've obviously done some tank buffs and also tank nerfs early on. They've done a bit of mythic raiding tuning around certain classes that were just completely unviable. Um, but yeah, so we are here now looking at probably the biggest one they've done so far. Now, reading their initial statement, which is a number of specializations will receive throughput increases to several spells targeted at improving their performance. Now, this is a really key statement. It shows Blizzard's mentality now. Rather than gutting classes that were overperforming, they're actually trying to buff up the classes that are currently underperforming. Now, that's actually huge. And a really nice change of pace for Blizzard. So, assuming this is their mentality going forward, big thumbs up for me. So, Demon Hunter. The hunt's damage over time effect no longer deals an additional tick on application. From what I understand, this is pretty much just a bug fix. Nothing actually changes. It just, yeah. Vengeance. Thick skin armor bonus increases 130%. That's going to help with your active mitigation. As is calcified skin, initial damage reduction increased to 12%. Both going to help your active mitigation. Painbringer duration increased to 6 seconds was 5 seconds. It's a very minor change, and a lot of talent builds don't take it. Not sure how I feel about that. Probably not going to matter all too much in the grand scheme of things. And Feral Druids. All ability damage increased, which is interesting because I actually thought they were in a good spot, but potentially that's it's certainly going to be a welcome change for them anyway. Evoker. This is where I'm excited. Fire breath damage increased by 10% for devastation specialization only. Does not apply to PvP combat. Now, that's pretty damn big, and it's big for multiple reasons. One, fire breath is typically one of my top two, if not my top damage done in a Mythic Plus dungeon. A flat 10% increase to that is going to be huge, and there's other things to consider after that as well. It being for devastation specialization only is really, really nice. We don't need to make preservation any stronger, and it allows devastation to do what it does best. And doesn't apply to PvP combat, means it actually keeps us balanced in that situation as well. So all in all, really, really positive change. Really happy with that. It helps both our AoE, which is already exceptionally good, and our single target, which is lacking a little bit. So yeah, all in all, really happy with that change. Lay Waste increases deep breath damage by 15 and 30%. It is a 2 talent point talent. I actually really like Deep Breath. Deep Breath has a AoE stun, 1 minute cooldown, uncapped, I believe, affected by mastery always. It's just a very strong ability, and actually, I feel like it is underutilized in the Evoker toolkit. It's used more as a stun than anything else, and I feel like it actually can do quite a bit of damage. So I'm going to be playing around with Lay Waste just to see if I can make it work and potentially fit that into the build as well. Now, Eternity Surge damage is increased by 10%, which all in all is actually quite a significant change, really. It's quite a significant buff. When you consider that Disintegrate also has a chance to launch Eternity Surge at 60% of its power, this is quite key for our single target as well. Eternity Surge hits exceptionally hard, and when used properly, can really be quite impactful to both single target and AoE rotations. So, I think this is again a really positive change to both. Firestorm damage increased by 20%. Now, there is a build that uses Firestorm to effectively, in raids, have infinite fire breath up on the target or on cleave fights. I don't think it's going to be used anywhere else. Firestorm's damage is pitiful at best. It's not used as a damage spell in itself. It's used for the effect it has in terms of cleave and things like that. So, probably not something that will see much gain or benefit. Eye of Infinity generates 2 essence on critical strike, was 1 essence. So Eye of Infinity is Eternity Surge critical strikes generate 1 essence. This would now be 2 essence. Now, in terms of speeding that rotation up, that's actually quite interesting. However, we currently use Causality, which essence abilities reduce the remaining cooldown of Eternity Surge by 1 second. Especially during your cooldown windows, when especially like single target cooldown windows, things like that, when you're burning through essence bursts, you're burning through pyres or disintegrates and things like that, you're getting really quick cooldowns on fire breath and eternity surge. I actually think this is probably just the best option. Without that, it's just naturally a 30-second cooldown, and it just would obviously stay on that rotation. So I'm not sure. Maybe it will be better with either Infinity, but I'm not sure at the moment. Spellweaver's dominance increases critical strike damage to 230% instead of 220%. So again, a 10% critical strike damage bonus as well. So all in all, we're receiving quite substantial damage buffs as a Devastation Evoker. Iridescence damage bonus increased to 20%, was 15%. This is a talent that isn't really used. Casting the Empower spell increases the damage of your next two spells of the same color by 15%. Obviously, that would now be 20%. I'm not really sure if I like that. It's not something that I plan on using currently, but who knows in the future, right? So hunters, they are actually buffing survival hunters. They're still trying to make that work for some crazy reason. All ability and pet damage by 2%, and then further buffs to Butchery, Carve, Fury of the Eagle, and Wildfire Bomb. I don't. It's in a weird spot, and they've never really been happy with where it's sat. It's either been very, very overpoweredly strong or completely bad and like G tier. So yeah, not really sure about that one. Fire. Flame Strike and Living Bomb damage increased by 15 and 25% respectively. Hmm, that could be pretty fun. I wonder if we're going to start seeing some fire in M Plus now, especially on them fortified weeks. Potentially. Now, I've actually seen some Frost Mages and they have pumped. So to see a Frostbolt, Ray of Frost, and Glacial Spike damage increase, pretty mad. So yeah, I think mages are going to be in a good spot, a good choice of a good variety of choice between all three specs, which is exactly what you want, of course. Now, Brewmaster, efficiency of stagger or efficacy of stagger against magical damage increased to 45% instead of 35%. That's huge. There's a lot of magic damage in Dragonflight, and actually, Brewmaster's not in a fantastic space. If they could be the people that can survive those big hits of magical damage, who knows? That could be quite good. And cooldown of Celestial Brew, I'm not actually sure what that is. Now, Mistweavers. We haven't seen many Mistweavers. In all of my keys and things like I've run, I don't think I've bumped into a Mistweaver yet. Just explains how rare they are at the moment. So a flat 5% healing increase. Vivify has a further 5% healing increase. And then Blackout Kick is 6%, Rising Sun Kick 8%, Tiger Palm 15%, Spinning Crane Kick 5%, and Awakened Feline now transfers 70% of Spinning Crane Kick's damage into healing. This gives Mistweaver. They're really, really trying to push this fist weaving build, and I feel like this actually could bring them to a good spot. So very interested to see what can be done with that. I'm actually going to be leveling a monk soon just to try this out. Really excited for fist weaving. Uh, Retribution Paladin. Crusader Strike damage increased by 40%, Blade of Justice by 25%, Final Reckoning by 15%, and Shield of Vengeance cooldown reduced to 90 seconds. That's pretty strong for PvP, I will say. So they didn't like the way that Retribution was feeling rotationally. It really is a spec where it's kind of the very standard generator spender spec, and the generators don't do any damage at all. Now they're hopefully going to do a little bit, which is nice. Holy's had a flat 3% healing done increase, which I don't know. I thought Holy was already in quite a good spot. I know that they're not top tier right now, but I thought they were in quite a good spot. So, I mean, great. They'll obviously take it, but don't know if it was needed. So the first one, Focus Will provides 10% damage reduction for Shadow down from 15%. This is huge for PvP. Just because shadows in PvP are absolutely immortal. Mind Blast damage increased by 15%, which is pretty big actually. Mind Flay damage increased by 15%, and that does include the talent Mind Flay Insanity. That's quite a big change actually. Mind Spike damage increased by 15%, Void Torrent damage increased by 15%, and Devouring Plague damage increased by 15%. And they want to specifically improve Shadow's single target DPS and obviously focus well as a target change for PvP, which we expected. That's pretty cool. I like Shadow. I feel like they're going to be in a good space. They do a lot of self healing, they're quite tanky, and now they look like they're going to have some good single target. They could be quite interesting. Outlaw has received a slight nerf, so precise cuts reduce bonus to blade flurry damage per missing target below its maximum to 2%. As we monitor the developing Mystic Plus meta and related data, we realise that Outlaw is overperforming. So this is cool. This is fine. I'm okay with this. They haven't gutted the class. It's still more than playable. They're just a little bit too strong for even where they're happy with. And that's absolutely fine. Now I can already see it. Affliction! Yes! So, they haven't made the changes that I expected them to, which is really strange. So, agony damage increased by 5%, corruption damage by 5%, drain soul damage by 10%, pandemic invocation damage by 20%, cedar corruption damage by 5%. That's going to be huge. They already do decent AoE. Shadowbolt damage by 10%, siphon life damage by 10%, and unstable affliction backlash damage is no longer increased from damage dealt modifiers. Not sure what that means, but sure. So I expected them to actually go the route of changing Malefic Rapture. They've actually buffed the dot side and the drain soul side of Affliction, which is really, really interesting. I think Affliction's actually going to be quite good in certain scenarios now. So yeah, I actually think they could be quite good in certain scenarios now. So really, really cool to see these changes. More than excited to test them out. I do want to get on and try that soon. And finally, Destruction. Channel Demon Fire damage increased by 10%. It does hit like a wet noodle. A just flat Rain of Fire damage increased by 15%. So cool. I genuinely think we can start seeing some Destruction gameplay a little bit now as well, which is awesome for me. I really love the spec. Soulfire damage increased by 20%. Infernal and Blasphemy Immolation damage increased by 10%, which does buff the Ritual of Souls, I believe it's called, talent as well. Conflag, Immolate, and Incinerate damage by 10, 10, and 15%, but doesn't apply to PvP. So I think Destruction is going to be in a good spot. I think Warlock is going to have two medium to high performing specs, and then Demo being a very high performing spec. I think Mages are going to be in a similar position. I think Evoker's now going to be in a similar position. I think Rogue's going to be in a similar position. We might be going into the most balanced meta that we've ever had. What? That's awesome. And if that's the case, that's really, really cool. So, guys, what do you think of these changes? Obviously, we focus on the PvE stuff today. I don't know enough about PvP anymore to talk about that. Hope you guys have enjoyed. And yeah, let me know what you think of the changes. Did they buff your class? Okay, guys. Bye.